All right, let's make some books like you see in the cabinet here. And the inspiration for this came because last year in 2023 at Legion's Con, I designed a piece of furniture called an alchemist hutch, and this cabinet is what that is. This year, I'm taking the same piece of furniture, but instead of an alchemist hutch, it's going to be like an old bookcase, and so I needed some books to go in there. And these books that we're making in this video here today are non-functioning, non-opening books. They're just a foam insert with a paper cover glued around it. So, you know, mine are going to be stationary, fixed and hot glued into the cabinet itself, so they won't be removable. But yours don't have to be. Yours can be however you want. They can be loose and all over the place. It's all good. I'm taking the printable file that I bought on Etsy, and if you're from my Patreon, then you know how I took the printable file and took it into Cricut and put it on the mat and got to this point right here. If you're not a Patreon member, go check out my Patreon. It's $10 a month and you get all kinds of cool stuff. But that being said, if you're going to get your printable book covers and you want to just run them through your inkjet printer and then cut them out by hand, then this will bring you right here to this spot. Once you have them all cut out, just grab you some cardboard. If you've got some, old Amazon boxes, cut them into strips no wider than your widest book cover. And you can use whatever kind of insert you really want that has a thickness to it that's going to work. I mean, I wouldn't use like a cereal box or something, but anything that's got a little bit of a thickness to it. Now, the books here have to fit into this bookcase, and there's a 1-inch space. So mine can't be any taller than 1 inch. They can be wider because the bookcase is deep, but they cannot be taller. So here, I take my widest book and I measure my foam width off of the widest book cover, like you kind of saw me do there. And once it fits, then I just get my glue stick and I just go down there and make sure that I cover the entire piece of insert with the I keep wanting to say hot glue because I got a hot glue gun there. the insert with your glue stick. I wouldn't try using hot glue or any type of wet glue on this because they're just paper book covers, unless you're using some like cardstock or something. And then even then, I would still stick with the glue stick because there's just less moisture in it and you're going to not wilt the book covers up. So once you get that part done, then you just glue it down and put those books on there, man. End of the video. You guys take care. Thanks for watching. Right? No, you've got me for another 17 minutes. Anyway, another important thing to remember here is make sure that the book is even on both sides, because with the glue stick and it being a little bit moist, you can make the covers, it'll look good on one side and you can assume that it's straight on the other side also, but it's not. It can be a little crooked. So just kind of make sure that they're all even on both sides before the glue dries. Sometimes those things are, they can get a little uneven. And that's it. You just work this all the way down. I mean, you could put them closer together if you want, but here's the thing. When you go to cut these, if you're going to use scissors, you want a little space in there. It's okay to use scissors when you're on the thin books like this, but when you start doubling the insert up to make the books thicker, then you don't want to use scissors. You want to use an X-Acto knife. You can use an X-Acto knife here too. Honestly, the X-Acto knife is the best way to cut these, because scissors, you can wind up, if you do it wrong, you can wind up sort of compressing the foam at the edges and like not really cutting it, but like smashing it. And then, you get little bits of damaged edge on the book cover. And so you don't want to, you want to keep, if you're going to use scissors, keep the book covers toward the rear of the scissor and not toward the tip, and just cut with the rear of the scissor because it's like a stronger part and it won't smash the foam and damage the book. See how I keep it all toward the back? I don't try to do it in one cut. go ahead and just work your way up the foam with the rear part of the scissor blades there, and that's going to give you a better cut. I do prefer the X-Acto knife, but I did the scissors here for whatever reason, who knows. But I do like the blade better. And that's it. We'll cut these out. Not cutting the covers, just, you know, cutting it right up to the edge of the principal cover. And there's a lot of wiggle room here because since these books aren't going to open and they're going to be facing inward into a cabinet, you're not going to see anything really except the sides and the spine. So it's okay if I kind of mess one up here and there. It's not that big a deal. Like I say, they're not going to be books that you see from all directions. All right. Now that you've got those all cut, we're going to work on the thicker books. You can see I've got multiple piles of covers here. So same process with the thicker books. You're just going to double the insert material, whether it's cardboard or foam board or whatever. Something to keep in mind here though too is that you want to print these books a little bit bigger because they're going to fold over twice the amount of material. So, and I'm just making my marks here in my lines in a quick and dirty way to measure this, and then we'll just go ahead and cut it down there. And I'll cut 2 strips, remember, because we're going to double this up. Now, a tip here would be, since we're doing 2, we could peel one part of the paper off of the foam so that you don't have this hard ridge running down the middle of the 2 pieces of foam that are hot glued together. But like I say, these books aren't going to be visible. They're not going to be functional. You're only going to see the spine and one of the covers. You're not going to see, you know, inside the book. So I just skipped that step. It's not really that important in this particular build. But you can take the paper off of the middle or off of one side of each strip, and then when you put them together, there's no paper in the middle. But then again, I wouldn't want to use hot glue there to glue these together. You'd want to use something like a tacky glue or something like that, because the hot glue will melt that foam. In this case, we left the paper on, so hot glue is just fine to use. It's not a big deal. Then once again, just go ahead and take your glue stick and be liberal with that glue stick. Get it all covered up and fit your book on there. Make sure everything is good. And I use the not paper clips, clothespins on this one because they're a little bit thicker and it just holds it on there better. And once again, if you measure your foam width for the widest book that you have, then all the other ones are going to fit. So that's what I do. When you saw me measure in the beginning, I measured my widest book cover. And the idea behind me making smaller and, you know, thicker and thinner books is because when you look at a bookcase, they're all different size and staggered and colors and you know, things like that. And so I just kind of wanted to keep everything a little bit random. And here we're using the X-Acto knife because we've doubled the material up in the middle, so it is thicker, and the scissors not going to do a good job with this. So get your X-Acto knife out there and cut these bad boys up. One thing though that bugs me, see the glare on that ruler? I need to get a plastic or a wooden ruler, because you wouldn't think that would bother you, but that overhead light shining right on that ruler, reflecting back into your eyes as you cut, it's not user-friendly. Anyway, could be just my old eyes. But this is a fun way to create a different size book, and it's really quick. I would like to make some functioning books, you know, ones that really open and stuff. That'd be kind of cool, but I don't know if I have a need for that. I don't do like time-lapse for stop motion and stuff, so I don't think I'd have a need. But you could do some ones that are already just like open to a certain page or something. They don't have to actually open and close. You could just make some that already look open. But here you go. We've got some piles of random size thicknesses books. Now they're all 1 inch because they have to fit inside that spot. But when you put these up next to each other and you take a look at them, I mean, you've got a quick and easy library, man, that you can photograph your figures with. Look at that. And try not to put same color book covers next to each other unless you like that. I try to keep, you know, if I got a red one, then I do a green one, and then I got an orange one, and then I got a, you know, I don't keep similar colors next to each other. I like to vary it. So here we've got the larger size books that go on the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing. You're just going to find the widest book in there, make your mark on the foam board, make your mark on the bottom, cut that into a strip. And these here are the same thickness. They're just double, like the last books that I did. They're just, you know, double thick. They're just a bigger book. You know, I thought it looked kind of cool to have the Wizard bookshelf with a couple really big books, like, you know, overly sized books, and then some smaller books of different thicknesses. It just keeps it really random and looks good. So where I'm gluing, if you want to tear that off, that paper, you can. I squeegee that on there. And the reason I did that is because sometimes with the hot glue, if you go to press the two pieces of foam board together, you can get a little bit of a bulge. But if you smooth it flat out with like a squeegee, and then you press the two pieces together, you get a much better result. The problem with that is you have to do it quick, because once you spread the glue out, it'll dry really quickly. So there's another little tip for you. Just squeegee it out. Look at that book. Looks so cool, huh? Man, this was fun. This is a fun project. And books and magazines and all those things come in such great handiness. No. Books and printed literature, things like that, are really useful in dioramas and telling stories, filling out your sets with, you know, different props and things like books. Just really adds to the overall scene and just creates a fun space for you to photograph and to just kind of let your imagination run around. And, you know, the process of setting everything up is really fun. You might not photograph the entire set, but setting it up is such a joy. I think it's a joy to me because everything is intentional. Nothing was by accident. You know, when you look at the bookcase, for example, each book was put there a certain way, a certain staggered distance, a certain crookedness, a certain, you know, it's all intentional. And so when you look at something like this, you can have the joy of sitting back and saying, man, I created something really cool, really unique, and it's where my mind was at the time, and it was just a great space to be in, and it was just really fun. Same thing here. So you can see the top book is wider than the second book, so that's why I say measure the foam board for your widest book. And they got another narrow one here. These book covers are so stinking cool. And I fold them. What a good time. We're gonna weather them up here in a little bit. They don't need weathering, but I didn't want, well, you'll see when we get to that part, I didn't want them to just be white foam inside, because depending on the angle that you photograph the bookcase from, the shelf does come out. So I wanted it to at least look like, you know, the pages were sort of brownish. And here we go with that. Just a little pigment. I'm going to brush it onto the book itself. brush it onto the foam. I didn't want to weather these up with anything liquid, obviously. So pigment was perfect. Just get you some pigment and just brush it into that foam. That foam will take the pigment in really nice, and it will hide all the whiteness in there and make it look not so fresh and new, and be like, hey, look at this old book cover, but why is it so white inside? You could probably do this if you don't have pigments. You know, you could do this with some chalks, or you could do it with, I wouldn't say do it with paint, but some chalks, or you could do it with some markers or something if that's all you had. These pigments, by the way, are just soft chalk pastels that I buy on Amazon, and then I just grind them up in the old NutriBullet when my wife's not home, and then I wash it out really good so that she never knows. See how that works? She knows anyway. She knows everything, I'll tell you that. But anyway, don't be scared to get some on the book. And one by one we go through and we get them all powdered up. But look at all these books. I've got books of all different sizes and colors and thicknesses. And we're going to make a cool library, man. It's going to look really cool. And we didn't use anything. I mean, we used some paper, some foam, and a glue stick. That was it. Now, like I say, you can cut up your Amazon boxes. I did do some with some cardboard, and those work, and they look fine as far as the thickness and stuff goes, but you really don't want to show the insert on the cardboard because it looks like cardboard. You know, it has that corrugated, ribbed look to it, and you can't really disguise that. So if you do use cardboard, make sure it's, you know, the book isn't going to be seen from that angle. And I just fasten these together with a little hot glue. I push some further out, some further in. I put varying sizes next to each other and varying colors. And then I just glue it to the old shelf. Look at this. That's the beautiful thing about this is here I thought, you know, oh, it just needs another book, man. Odd amounts make things look good. Your 3s, your 5s, your 7s, you know, stuff like that just work better than even amounts. Vary the size next to each other, and that's it, man. I mean, look, got a cool cabinet, man. Now let's put these other books in here on the bottom. We'll do a big one and a skinny one. Glue it on there at a little bit of an angle. I don't want it flush, like all straight up and down. Or like in the Army, we would say dress right dress. We don't want that. We want it random and crooked. Anyway, hey, if you haven't done so, like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. I also put out an invitation for you to get over to my Patreon and check it out. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, sometimes TikTok, but I do stuff just like this on my Patreon, but you get files and things like that to go with this kind of stuff. So it's not just videos. I do 3D printing and files and tips and painting and stuff like that. But anyway, here's the photo with the old spiderwebby bookcase. And appreciate you guys watching. Take care and have a great day. Hopefully see you at LegionsCon.